Which dynasty players have risen the most in value over the last month? We're talking about that in today's video. As always, guys, help us get to 1,300 subscribers. Make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. It's our Dynasty Risers video for the month of May. We do these videos every single month. And the last time we did this was before the NFL draft. And now we're looking at post-NFL draft. It's been a few weeks now, a couple of weeks now. So we got post-NFL draft risers. Some rookies in here, some veteran players, a good mix of both. And let's just jump right into it. And why I think this is so important, because it's so important to see, keep tabs on the market. I mention this every single video that we make of these. Keeping tabs on the market is essential in Dynasty football. How are players feeling? When to buy low, when to sell high? How are players and managers feeling about certain players? Cam Ward, and I forgot to put where he's come from, but he's risen 5 spots from QB 19 to QB 14. And I think this is really, really funny. And it made me really, really think about the psychology behind Dynasty and Dynasty players in general, and just humans in general. It's not even just about Dynasty, but we really do, as humans, we really do have to see it to believe it type of thing, right? We've known for 2 months that Cam Ward was going to go 101 to the Titans. However long it's been that we've known, 2 months, 6 weeks, whatever. We've known before the NFL draft. We knew a month, 2 months before the NFL draft that Cam Ward was almost assuredly to go 101. Yet, it wasn't until he was actually drafted 101 did we see the rise up 4 or 5 spots in the Dynasty rankings. Like, he literally rose 5 spots. Nothing's changed with Cam Ward. We all knew he was going to Tennessee. It's official now. We saw it. Right, we have to see it to believe it type of thing. And it just made me really think about other players and someone like Ashton Genty. You know, there's some people asking me in live shows, you know, what can I get for Ashton Genty? I'm looking to trade him. My team's in a 3-year rebuild, a 2-3-year rebuild. Ashton Genty just doesn't fit my team right now, which is fair. And I told them, well, this is kind of what I would want. However, you don't have to make that trade now, because as soon as people are going to see Ashton Genty, Cam Ward produce on the field, they're going to go higher in value if it's even possible for Genty. But people are going to give you more for Genty when they see that he produces, right? So we just, as humans, we really need to see it to believe it. We really do. And so it just made me think about that. So Cam Ward is a riser. Jackson Dart, another riser here. And I put him on the list because I'm just curious what everyone thinks is like, do we see more than 4 games from Jackson Dart? Do we see more than 4 games? Because it's a weird situation. Normally, I would say for the most part, 80% of the time when a team drafts a quarterback in the first round, not 80%, but a good amount of time is that coaching staff really isn't under fire, whether it's because they're new or you know, they know the team sucks, so they're giving them a couple years. Daboll and the GM there, they have to win this year or they're going to get fired. So that makes me think we don't see Jackson Dart in the beginning. That being said, it's going to go very quickly if Russell or Jameis are not doing, you know, not producing, they don't look great, and that's very good. That's a very possible solution or situation that we see Jackson Dart. You know, we hear people, the owner or the fans clamoring for Jackson Dart. So I think it's an interesting situation. I do think that there's a world, now people are going to think this is crazy, there's a world where Jackson Dart is a more valuable fantasy asset than Cam Ward. There is, just because of his rushing ability. I don't know what Cam Ward's going to do on the ground. He could probably do more than what he did at Miami. But Jackson Dart had a season in college where he ran for over 600 yards. And Daboll and his offense likes to have rushing quarterbacks. Josh Allen, Daniel Jones that year, a couple years ago. And so could I see Jackson Dart with like 500 rushing yards, you know, because of a lot of design runs? Sure. I'm not saying that's going to happen next year, but it could happen in his career if he's ever, you know, the long-term starter. And then Joe Flacco is skyrocketing ever since he got signed by the Browns. And it's probably going to be Joe Flacco's job to lose, or you know, if the Browns aren't winning, then they bring in one of the young guys in Dylan Gabriel or Sanders or something. To me, it's Flacco. The only thing I will say is just be hesitant on assuming that what we got from Joe Flacco on the Browns a couple years ago is what we're going to get in 2025. He's a couple years older. We have seen players have 5-6 weeks of hot streaks, and then it kind of all comes back more to the it regresses to the mean a little bit. So just kind of a thought there. I do think it's kind of crazy though that Flacco was this low when he said he wanted to play, and so we just needed to see him go to a team with the opportunity, and that seems to be the Browns. So I like Joe Flacco this year. I think if he starts a majority of the whenever he starts, he's a top 15 quarterback most likely in this draft in this fantasy season. Into some running backs here, RJ Harvey, a massive jump from RB71 to RB19. And we're going to pat ourselves on the back a little bit here. We made a video, go and check all the way back in January. And we didn't call it sleeper video because I thought it was too early to call anyone a sleeper, but basically guys that I was higher on than general, right? Than the general public, than the average person. And RJ Harvey was on that list. Now, did I think RJ Harvey was going to get drafted day 2 in the NFL draft or second round of the NFL draft? Absolutely not. And I kind of went back and forth with him. Like I really liked him, and then I soured a little bit on him, and then I liked him again. I mean, he's in the perfect situation. He's in the absolute perfect situation. And we all know that Sean Payton and his running backs usually do well for fantasy. Multiple guys. Back with his Saints day. We haven't seen it with the Broncos yet. The one thing I will say is we also thought the same with Andy Reid and the Eagles. And Andy Reid had Brian Westbrook with the Eagles. He had LaShawn McCoy there for a little bit with the Eagles. He had Jamal Charles with the Chiefs, and then Kareem Hunt. But we haven't seen that since Kareem Hunt's rookie year. We haven't seen Pacheco's been a nice player, but we haven't seen league-winning fantasy running back production from there. So, is it more the player? Is it the coach? Is it both? You still need the right player in there. Is RJ Harvey the right player for Sean Payton in his system? I sure hope so, man, because he's just going to fall into 50-plus catches. Javonte Williams last year had over 50 catches. Running backs for Sean Payton's system are just they fall into these catches. Now, Javonte Williams didn't really take advantage of that opportunity, but man, good stuff here. RJ Harvey. It's interesting. I have him in my tier 4, and I think he should be going anywhere from the 108 to basically the 202 in dynasty rookie drafts. Isaiah Pacheco. We talked about these guys on veteran winners, and there's always these guys that we assume they're going to get replaced. I thought the hate on Pacheco, I've never been a big Pacheco guy, but I thought the hate on Pacheco was going a little bit too far in the sense of we're judging this guy based on him coming back from a broken leg 6 or 8 weeks after he broke it. And to me, that was just a little bit too harsh. We shouldn't have been judging him. And, I think that's why Kareem Hunt came back and kind of took the bulk of the carries. I think Pacheco, they only drafted, I think, Rashard Smith in the 7th round. I think Pacheco kind of returns to what he was in 2023 and what he was at the beginning of 2024. Don't forget that in 2023, Isaiah Pacheco, he missed 3 games. He put up almost 1,200 yards and 9 touchdowns. He was averaging 3 catches a game and about 15. He was basically averaging about 17, 18 touches a game, 3 of those through the air. He averaged 4.6 yards per attempt, the beginning of 2024, he started off the season pretty hot as well. Pacheco, the first 2 games of the season before he broke his leg, he had 15 carries, 45 yards, and a touchdown, 2 catches. So he had 78 total yards with 2 catches and a touchdown. And then he had 110 total yards with 5 catches in week 2, and then he got hurt. So he could easily return to that. And if you bought low on Isaiah Pacheco, if you bought low on him before the NFL draft, then you're probably feeling pretty good here. Brian Robinson falls right into that boat. Actually, all these guys, the next couple of guys do. B-Rob, again, I've never been the biggest Brian Robinson fan, but he's probably just going to repeat what he's done the last couple of years, which means he's probably going to get He's probably going to get 12 to 15 carries a game. He'll probably get a catch and a half per game. He's going to go over 1,000 total yards, maybe 1,100 total yards, and he's going to probably score 8+ touchdowns because he's going to be the goal line guy. Now, I do like Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, the running back they drafted in the 7th round. I think he's a sneaky sleeper in dynasty rookie drafts or free agency, but I don't really expect him to take it year one from Brian Robinson. So it's just going to be like you're on one of the best offenses. He's probably going to average, like I said, probably going to average about 15 touches a game, with 1.5 of those being a catch, which is going to put him most likely at 30, 35 catches. He's going to rush for 800-900 yards, have 1,100 total yards. So Brian Robinson is probably going to be a productive RB2/3 next year. And again, if you bought low on him before the NFL draft, it really makes me think. And the next guy as well, DeAndre Swift, it really just makes me think. This was like kind of a historic draft class, right? It was kind of a historic draft class, but still only 6 running backs went in the first 2 days. In the first 3 rounds, only 6 running backs were drafted. 6. That's it. That is it. It was obviously Ashton Genty, Omarion Hampton, Quinshon Judkins, Travion Henderson, RJ Harvey, and Caleb Johnson. 6 running backs in this stacked running back class. So, I mean, that just tells you like it's probably better to buy low on multiple of these guys that we think are going to get replaced, but they're actually not. Now, when it comes to DeAndre Swift, I was telling people to buy low on him before the draft because I honestly thought the Bears were going to take someone maybe 10th overall, definitely in the early 2nd round. And like I would have put my house on it that they would have taken someone in the 3rd round if they had a pick. I forget if they had a pick or not, but I would have put my house on it that they took someone in the first couple of days of the NFL draft. They did not take anyone until round 7. But I was telling people to buy low on DeAndre Swift, not because I didn't think the Bears were going to draft someone, but I thought he's probably still going to be pretty effective and pretty good in this Ben Johnson offense. And people forget, people think DeAndre Swift was this huge bust for the Lions. Go look at what his points per game average. Now, he missed like 3-4 games every year, but go look at his per game average, DeAndre Swift, with the Lions. And I think you'd be kind of surprised about what he was doing, especially in PPR. In 2020, his rookie year, DeAndre Swift averaged was the RB10 in points per game. In 2022, he was the RB16. In 2021, he was the RB10. Excuse me. In 2021, he was the RB10. In 2020, he was the RB18, and in 2022, he was the RB16. Like he's never finished except for last year. Actually, I'm going to double check that. I'm not even sure. He's never finished in his career below RB21 in points per game. I think people would be very, very shocked about that. And he's had both situations. One where he's had basically 300 touches and one where he's had 160, 200 touches. I think he gets closer to that 200 touch range, and I think he's probably more effective because of it. And I think he's probably going to be an RB2 in this offense, and maybe even more if they really give him the workload. So DeAndre Swift, to me, if you bought low on him, congratulations. Into some wide receivers, only 3 wide receivers here. We're going to start off with the rookie Travis Hunter. Now, Travis Hunter to me is fascinating because like people are taking him as high as the 102 in rookie drafts. And I don't really fault people. I have him in my tier 3, and I think I would take him as high as the 104. I would take a shot on him. That being said, I just have in my mind, and you guys can let me know in the chat, like if the Jags traded up for him and gave up a lot of capital for him on a team that Jags aren't necessarily a team that's like ready to win now, they must think they're going to use him on both sides of the ball. They have to be thinking that they're getting 2 players in one or 1.5 players in one. They have to, or else they wouldn't have given up that draft capital for strictly a cornerback or a wide receiver, in my opinion. And so I think if they do play him on defense, whether it's 20%, 25%, it's either going to take away from his offensive snaps. And if he's below 70% or below in snaps on offense, it's going to be hard to rely on him for fantasy. or B, he's going to be playing more snaps than anyone in the NFL, and he's a big injury risk. And another sneaky thing that people aren't talking about, in my opinion, is in college, you can get away with just being more athletically gifted than everyone else. You can just get away with it. In the NFL, you really have to hone your craft. Is he going to have time to do both? Now, I will say this. If it fails, if the playing both ways fails, I do think they use him as a wide receiver full time. So there's the positive there. But he is the wide receiver one, according to the community, in this draft class. Interesting. Tell me what you think about Travis Hunter. Where would you take him in Dynasty rookie Superflex drafts? Calvin, Ridley, I wish you guys would have listened to me back in, I think we first talked about him back in February, basically saying, go buy low on this guy before the NFL draft. Go buy low on this guy. Why? Well, because he's getting a new quarterback. He's getting a new quarterback, and that means that the Titans are not getting a wide receiver until early round 2. Now, they didn't draft a wide receiver until round 4. They drafted 2 wide receivers and a tight end in round 4. But I'm not super worried about round 4 wide receivers and a tight end taking away from Calvin Ridley year 1. I think Calvin Ridley is actually going to be pretty good. I said the same thing about Terry McLaurin last year, saying, hey, they're getting a quarterback. What if that quarterback is just really good? What if it's CJ Stroud like a production? CJ Stroud for Nico Collins. We've seen it 2 years in a row now. CJ Stroud made Nico Collins super relevant. Jaden Daniels made Terry McLaurin super fantasy relevant. Is Cam Ward going to make Calvin Ridley very relevant for fantasy football? And by this, I mean, even if he's wide receiver 30, look at the value you're getting. Even if you're getting a bench piece bye-week plate replacement, he's the wide receiver 57 still. Go out and buy Calvin Ridley still to this point. I think he could have a surprisingly good year. I wouldn't be shocked. And then the last one here is Roman Wilson. I just wanted to throw his name out. I haven't heard too much about him. I kind of wanted to, I didn't want to just stack this full of rookies because they're all rising. But Roman Wilson's an interesting one because, we haven't talked about him since last year. I kind of liked him coming out of college as a prospect, but then he didn't play last year, got hurt. It will be interesting, though, if this team does move on from George Pickens and if Aaron Rodgers comes to this team, you got Metcalf, you got Calvin Austin as a deep threat. Roman Wilson could kind of work over the middle and be a sneaky good player for that offense. So just wanted to throw his name out and maybe get him as a throw-in and see what happens. Former third-round pick, still has time to potentially breakouts, right? To potentially breakouts. Kyle Pitts into the tight ends is Kyle Pitts is the tight end 9. I don't really know what to say here. We're hoping that he finally breaks out. I'm not too optimistic about it, but we'll see. Kyle Pitts, man, if he ever does break out, we're going to be excited. The problem is he's not quite at the level of buy low on him, right? If he was tight end 15, tight end 17, I would definitely think about it. People are still holding on to hope. Maybe Michael Penix is driving that up a little bit. Don't know what else to say about it, but I do want to bring up the next guy, and I don't understand, and I mistyped here. Should say tight end 13 to 10. In what world should Isaiah Likely be the tight end 10 ranked over Mark Andrews? In what world should this be true? Not in my world. Not in my world. I think it's crazy. Isaiah Likely, guys, is not going to be a consistent fantasy option unless they trade Mark Andrews. And even then, I'm not 100% convinced that he's just going to play as many snaps that Mark Andrews was doing in his heyday, in his prime. I think it's crazy that Likely is this high. I really think it's crazy. Mark Andrews, by the way, was still the tight end. Mark Andrews was the tight end 8 last year. And that, by the way, that's with the start of he had in PPR, he had less than 13 points in the first 4 games. Less than 13 points. He was still tight end 8 in points per game and tight end 6 in total points. He was 3.5 points better per game than Isaiah Likely. In what world should Isaiah Likely be ranked over Mark Andrews? It's crazy. I don't understand it. Help me understand. Jake Ferguson from 19 to 15. And yeah, I see the reason why. Cowboys did nothing. They added no running backs until Jaden Blue. They added like no wide receivers in this draft, no other tight ends. Jake Ferguson could return back to his 2023 form, and he could easily be the number 2 target for this team. CD Lamb's going to get 200 targets, but Jake Ferguson, who, by the way, still averaged the same amount of receptions per game last year. He just missed some time. He was still pretty good. Like, he was still on pace for 71 catches. He was going to fall short of his 750 yards. He just caught no touchdowns. He was still going to get, if Jake Ferguson played 17 games, he was still going to have over 600 yards, 71 catches, which is really good for a tight end. And he just didn't catch any touchdowns. That's going to change. He's going to catch touchdowns next year. He's a down tier. He's a down tier target, 100%. 100%. Yeah, he's a down tier target for me. I'm down tiering from a lot of guys and getting Jake Ferguson and picking up extra assets. And then finally, Travis Kelce. And the only thing I want to say about Travis Kelce is, like, you know, he still caught 6.1 catches per game. That's right around his over the last 3 years, what he's been right around that 6.5 catches per game type of production. Like, that's still really good, getting 6.1 catches per game. He still caught 97 passes. He only had 3 touchdowns. If you told me Travis Kelce was the, let's see here. If you told me that Travis Kelce was the tight end 5 last year, I would have said, but you said he slowed down a little bit. I would have said, oh, so he caught 8 touchdowns. He caught 9 touchdowns. He didn't. He caught 3. Even if he falls to, let's say, 80 catches, but he catches 7, 8 touchdowns, he's still going to be good for fantasy. And that's where he's going to survive the most, is in the red zone, because it's all about positioning and not about athleticism. So I still think Kelce's going to be very productive this year. Just wanted to throw that out. Appreciate everyone watching. Make sure to hit the like and subscribe button. We will be back with a Dynasty Fallers video in the next video. See you all then.